Oh, there we go. Hello, hello. How is everyone? Why can I hear myself echo? Oh, because I have a Twitch stream, but oh my god, my computer fans. My headphones are noise canceling, so I didn't take them off until I could hear myself talk. Let me... I might want to turn on noise suppression for this stream in particular. OBS's noise suppression is not great, the built-in noise suppression, but since my computer's fans are so loud, I think it might be a necessary evil today. I can close out Discord and that'll hopefully help. What was I doing? That new Fantastic Four trailer has me not hyped but optimistic at least. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Because on one hand, I'm happy to see them give another try for the Fantastic Four movies. On the other hand, I don't love the approach they're taking with the marketing. Like, well, for one, they released posters that are so obviously AI, like wrong numbers of fingers on hands and everything. And are actively claiming that they're not AI, which is weird to me, but maybe that's just me. Like, if you're going to use AI, just be transparent about it, I think would be a good idea. Are my computer fans still too loud? I don't know if my mic's picking up on them a lot or not. Give me a second. I can turn on audio monitoring on my mic, and that'll let me know. Okay, I'm not hearing my fans, so that's good. That means the noise suppression's working. Which is good. Anyways, hello, hello. I have not streamed in like a week, sorry. I have been high-key been drowning in schoolwork recently. So it's nice to have to not worry about that quite as much. Didn't know about that. That sucks. Yeah, it's a fairly recent development, like last couple days, but it's still sucky. Like I'm sure I've mentioned it before. I am very anti-generative AI. I don't like it. I think it's unoriginal, and the use of it is more often than not an excuse to be lazy. I'm not necessarily against all AI. I think that it can be ethically made and ethically used, but in most current cases, it's not. And I mean, being a VTuber, are so much of being a VTuber is centered on artists and their craft. And so, especially to me, generative AI feels like sort of spitting in the face of that. And I mean, I'm not really an artist myself. I don't consider myself an artist, but it's to me a lot of the use of generative AI just does not mesh well with me. What was I going to say? I was going to jump into introducing the stream. Okay, so those of y'all who caught my last demo day last Thursday, I think. Yeah, it was last Thursday. Actually might already be a little bit more familiar with this game. But I was fortunate enough to get gifted a Steam code for Of the Devil. And so I'm super excited to play that today. This is episode 1. It just came out today. For those of y'all who missed my last demo day and are not familiar, it's sort of it's sort of like a lawyer simulator, I guess, but it's so far less courtroom and more detective type of thing. Like, it's not really actively like, there's clear inspiration from Ace Attorney, but for where so much of Ace Attorney's core gameplay takes place in the courtroom, so far most of the gameplay I've played for this takes place outside of the courtroom. So it's less like trying to argue against another lawyer and more trying to prove your point to detectives. And, well, it's been all detectives so far, but they did introduce a prosecutor character at the end of the demo, so hopefully we'll get to see more of her as well. I had a whole lot of fun trying to voice act for this game last time, so I'm super excited to try that again. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, the Nth Circle, the developers for this game, were wonderful enough to give me a Steam code, so I get to play this on release day. Yay! Anyways, I think it's probably best to just go ahead and get into it. Let me make sure. Let me switch to my gaming screen. Make sure everything's working. Everything's working. All right. Like Danganronpa. Actually, yes, it does remind me quite a bit of Danganronpa. Although there is less. Oh, game audio. Yes, thank you. You'd figure after almost a year and a half now that I would remember to turn on my game audio, but nope, I still forget. It does remind me quite a bit of Danganronpa. Although, again, Danganronpa is... So the core gameplay reminds me sort of the Danganronpa trials, but again, it's not really like courtroom. It's generally you're proving your point against one person, not a whole group of people. You do have to do a lot to sift through evidence and that sort of thing. And you sort of have to figure out... You have to figure out what happens in order to progress. Maybe like a sticky note that says game audio would help. Honestly, probably. I should probably just like start sticking stuff to my monitor and hopefully that'll remind me. But yeah, it reminds me, there's very clear inspiration from Ace Attorney, and then it does remind me quite a bit of Danganronpa as well. Alright. So, since I played episode 0 already, I think we just gonna want to jump into episode 1. You can choose to play episode 1 in high roller mode. In high roller mode, you're limited to 1 save slot, and you won't be able to reload your saves while inside the courtroom. Oh, give me a second. I have to fix my aspect ratio. There we go, that's better. 16:9 aspect ratio. It's still too big. Maybe if I just make it windowed. Yeah, my aspect ratio is really funny. 16:9. Okay, now I can see everything along the top. I can probably make it bigger, actually. Yeah, now I can see all the stuff along the window. And then I have to fix it in OBS as well. Game capture. There we go. My model's still going to cover the bottom corner a tiny bit, but I can move myself over a little bit. Alright, quick saving and autosaves will be disabled as well. The minimum ante for hands will be increased. The minimum and maximum penalties for answering incorrectly during trial gameplay will be increased. But the maximum ante will be increased as well, allowing you to earn the largest possible high score for credit in this episode. Completing this episode in high roller mode will also unlock an exclusive phone charm that can't be earned any other way. You can turn high roller mode off at any time in settings, but in order to turn it back on, you would have to restart this episode. It's intended to encourage risk-taking. Save and load as often as you like for the perfectionist. Or a high roller, limited to 1 save slot, loading prior saves is disabled, play like a real gambler. Oh, I'm actually kind of tempted to play in high roller mode. I don't know. I feel like high roller mode would be a lot more fun, but at the same time it's gonna make me anxious. Although, actually, I was more confident in my decision-making when I played episode 0 than I was expecting, so maybe I can do high roller mode. You know what? I'm gonna do it. This is a bad choice, but I'm gonna do it. Welcome to the high roller tables. Enjoy the thrill. Ooh, okay. Disable tutorials. You can turn them back on in settings. I'm gonna enable tutorials just because I'm playing in high roller mode and I don't want to miss a key game mechanic. Alright, so we've got someone mysterious. A shadow. I'd have clicked as soon as high roller appeared on the screen. Fair. I mean, if I'm gonna be channeling my inner Morgan, I guess it makes sense to play in high roller mode. Listen, I wanted to thank you for coming over. Wanted to thank you for coming over? Figured you'd notice. Anyone could tell something's bothering you. You're the first person to say anything. What happened? The police came to see me. In public? No, they wanted to be considerate of my privacy. That's a first. They wanted to talk to me about the other week. About my whereabouts. And yours. I told them I didn't know anything. They must have loved that. Funny. What would you have done? In your shoes? Probably cursed him out. Yeah, I could see that. Is there anything you want to ask me? No. Not even for a favor in return? No favors lost between friends, I say. That sounds like a toast. Huh, why not? To friends. This is a death flag if I've ever seen one, and I don't even know who's talking. I'll raise a glass to that. Ooh, ominous. Glassum. Vandalism detected. Incident logged. Recorded at 8:55 a.m. local time. Geopositional data encoded. If I could have all citizens in the area... I'm assuming that says fuck off. Fuck off, copper. Visuals impaired. Facial recognition compromised. Pinging nearby opt-ins for corroborating evidence. Hey, he's lighting up every phone on the block. We need to go now, or what? He'll use his outdoor voice? Or he'll have us pinned down to our dental records before you can say we're... Morning, Officer Leo. You look different today. You do something new with your uniform? Good morning to you too, Morgan citizen. To answer your question, no, I have not undergone any recent retrofitting. If you'd like a more detailed record of my maintenance history, you can make a request for... I've got it. Must be the new coat of paint. You're referring to the act of vandalization that just took place. Only the most recent one. Super Cop over here has a new dent every time I see him. Scars honorably earned in the line of duty, scanning the street for jaywalkers and loiterers. Don't worry, ma'am. A report has been filed and police are working to resolve the situation. Civil disobedience at this time of day? What's the world coming to? Just stragglers, ma'am. There was a period of unrest in the area last night. Unlicensed protesting and demonstrating without a permit. Well, I hope you threw the book at them. The disturbance was handled, but individual instances of volatility may occur during the next 48 hours as we work to apprehend outside actors. Thanks for the forecast. So, does the bleeding stop on its own? Androids don't have blood, ma'am. This is just a leakage of oxidizing fluid. Actually, now that I think about it, what is it with me playing games about androids recently? I literally just finished playing Signalis. That's what made me think of it. My mistake. So you don't need a bandage, I take it? The leakage will dry shortly. With that conversation thoroughly exhausted, I let my mind wander as I wait for the signal to cross. I unfocus my eyes and dull my hearing, sinking beneath the hum of the city street. I don't know what's off about that, but there's something weird about that statement that's like, it's pinging something in my brain. And fade through the lives bustling around me like so much sea foam. Across the way, a large man with worn hands and an ill-fitting belt turns to a gorilla-like hunk of machine and cuffs his hands in front of his mouth. Yo, 61! The machine halts its lifting with uncanny precision and turns to him. We're going on break. The robot tilts his head to the side. You can't work the flyer without Schwinn up on the roof, so... I don't know, take a load off, will ya? Understood, came the over-enunciated reply. The man, already walking away, tosses a dismissive wave behind him. Yeah, understood. A moment after the man turns the corner, the robot attempts to mimic the hand wave to no one in particular. Goddamn coppers on every street corner. At a bus stop, or what used to be a bus stop, now a charging station. A passionate young man voices his democratic opinion loud enough for the whole street to hear. They declare martial law when I wasn't looking? The small woman beside him, trying hard to appear even smaller, shifts in her seat. Well, they're just doing their job, so... Bots don't have jobs, except the ones they stole from us. Notice how they don't patrol nearly so heavy in Uptown, even on the worst days? His audience, captive by virtue of sharing the same charging pole as him, shuffles, coughs, and stares even harder at their phones. The woman looks at her knees and pulls at her shirt. You're kind of embarrassing me right now. He makes a vague gesture with his hand to indicate he stepped off his soapbox, and the shoulders of everyone around him relax a centimeter. Oh, now that's just... A woman with exhaustion in her eyes sighs at a hologram floating above her chrome-plated palm, while a rounded, smooth-looking android pushes a carriage behind her. Alan, walk around the block, get us some air, would ya? Apparently, this call can't wait, and it's louder than a garbage disposal out here. Of course, ma'am, I'd be glad to. The android punctuates its sentence with a sound halfway between a whir and a purr, which, judging from the coos and giggles coming from the child, seem to have been well received. Robots, holograms, androids, drones, coppers, if you prefer. Can't so much sneeze in this city without a dozen different ads offering you a handkerchief. There's a vocal minority that think they're the downfall of civilization, but for everyone else... You're too kind, ma'am. Thank you for your concern. It's hard to hate them when they're so eager to please. Crosswalk's given me the okay. Keep us safe, yeah? Have a good day, Morgan citizen. It's a bright, crisp morning in the city. Lights changing and people moving in click-clacking harmony, all smooth as clockwork. Were I in a worse mood, it would all be a bit much. But I went out last night. Oh. So I'm feeling pretty refreshed this morning. As I reach the other end of the street, I pivot lightly and give Automated Dependent Assistant Officer Al30 my best impression of salute. Thank you for your service. And of course, he creaks out a mirrored response. No sense of sarcasm, the poor bastards. But I didn't come all this way downtown to poke fun at the only happily employed class in human history. No, I came down here to make an important purchase. Today, I'm going to buy a gun. Of the Devil, Episode 1. Wonder what the new MO is. I mean, clearly something... Actually, looking at the brief, like, cut-in they had, I didn't get to read too much of it, but as far as I can tell, it was cause of death, something in French. And then, something about a 30-year-old... I think it said 30-year-old female with blunt force trauma. So it could just be, you know, blunt force trauma, hit him over the head, that tends to do the trick. But at the same time, I wonder if she's going to stick to an MO now, or if she's going to switch between them. She might stick to an MO. She's definitely confident enough in herself to do it, but... No staff around? But all the lights are on. Should I have knocked? Sup? Desk personality setting 6. The cool one. Let me know if I can help with anything. I've probably forgotten more about firearms than you're programmed to remember. I bet you can. What's an MO? It stands for modus operandi, which is Latin. I don't remember exactly what it... I think it's basically mode of operation. Is what the Latin translates to, roughly. I don't speak a lot of Latin. I speak exactly enough Latin that I can generally... Well, I don't speak any Latin, but they made me learn Latin roots for words in school, so I can usually recognize some of them. And then I had a minor... hyperfixation, I guess is the word. I had a minor hyperfixation on specifically court procedure for a while, so I picked up a... So I picked up a little bit of the Latin terms used in criminal court, but not too many. But yeah, it is essentially methodology. It's not exclusive to serial killers. It can be really any sort of repeated crime. But it is most often used in the case of serial killers. At least in the public eye. I recently acquired a license to carry concealed. Nice. Are you in law enforcement? Do you shoot for sport? Business or pleasure? Neither. May I ask why you're looking to carry concealed, ma'am? Oh, you know. Assault with a deadly weapon, cruel intent, that kind of thing. Some of my clients live in very rough neighborhoods. Even in broad daylight, coming down to the lower wards for house visits can be... I see, you're a lawyer. So I guess you'd say I'm in the market for self-defense. We have a wide selection of options for self-defense in a variety of sizes and calibers, with spread and PA fire options available. My bad. PA stands for pseudo-automatic. Heartbreak probably wasn't her first body of work, so I'm guessing she can hop between a couple of aliases. No, Heartbreak was most definitely not her first body of work, because she specifically mentioned that she hadn't stuck to an MO before. Or that she hadn't intended to stick to an MO with Heartbreak, but once people started talking about it, she kind of had to. But as far as I'm aware, she intends to have disposed of the Heartbreak alias at the moment. It is interesting that she is choosing to... It is interesting to me that she's getting a concealed carry license in her, I guess, civilian identity. In her everyday identity would probably be a better way of describing it. Because that links specifically her to having a weapon. Versus linking, like, with Heartbreak at least, she was very careful to not have any way to link the weapon to her. I know. But for concealed, it'd have to at least be small enough to... This would go a lot faster if I just tell the desk what I want. Be patient. But walking in here and asking for a very specific model is gun nut behavior. I'm not trying to stand out. Some of the ones I test fired at the range left my shoulders sore for days. Do you have anything more discreet? Right, no problem. Electromagnetic pulse models feature minimal kickback with the highest accuracy. One targeted pulse of electricity can disable attackers at medium to short range, non-lethally and quietly. Sure, they're plenty quiet, but they're also not lethal. But they also have piss-poor range, and even sustained fire won't do shit to any modder with insulation less than a few years old. Glorified tasers. Barely suitable as party favors for anxiety-stricken college kids. Well, hopefully not too quiet. I'd want someone to come running to my rescue. Of course. Would you like to take a look at our mag rails? Bullseye. We're proud to offer a number of models that utilize the latest in miniaturized ultra-capacity batteries to generate a Lorentz force, which slings slugs fast enough to mist a limb at over 30 meters. Damn. That's very fast. And it's safe? Of course, ma'am. My bad. Two-factor safety with GPS and emergency services sync. It won't go off unless you want it to, and someone will definitely come running. All these convenient safety features make it incredibly easy for the police, or anyone who can dupe their toolset, to lock you out of your own gun with a flip of a switch. You couldn't walk a piece like that down a single uptown street without passing through 9 or 10 no-fire zones. They're the very worst, most useless kind of weapon a criminal could buy. Which is exactly why she's looking for one, would be my guess. Sounds perfect! How do we get started? Why does it feel like every desk I run into has to be such a character? Mercifully, it's tucked itself away while the fabricators get the gun tagged. I've got time to kill, so is there anything worth checking out around the shop? Examine. Hate these kinds of screens. Gotta look at them with your nose turned up or else they start eye tracking. Next thing you know, they're saying hello on a first-name basis. But I've got practice with this sort of thing. I can skim the headlines at least. Why the 12-6 work week gives us more free time than ever. I'm 14 and I tried dating a smart UI. It made me the happiest I've ever been. How term limits are anti-democracy. You know, for a city that's supposedly really far in the future, these are all very timely headlines. Woof. Transfusion from warm android saves soldier's life. That's one hell of a headline. The Animate 16 wasn't selling well before. I'm sure by now it's... Yeesh, would it kill you to clean up a little? Guess the desk kindly asking customers not to litter can only get you so far if you're not willing to pay someone to sweep up. Wait, is this trash? This flyer, it's scannable? Stagnancy theory? Really? They get a lot of self-proclaimed philosophers in here? Stagnant world, modern man's plateau. Renowned net philosopher Corbin Cawthorne, real name withheld, offers to take you on a deep dive into the global trends and sociological patterns that have driven our planet to the halting point in his groundbreaking and controversial seminar. Moore's Law used to be the benchmark. Now it feels like a pipe dream. We used to dream of humanity marching bravely into space, of artisans crafting virtual wonders that made the confines of our own reality seem limited. Instead, our brightest minds spend all their time and effort kicking the can of climate crisis down the road, while their more fortunate peers spend their most productive working years in search engine optimization and customer experience design. The middle class, eaten alive by the rich they pop up, can no longer afford the very products they help create. Without mass consumer demand, tech no longer has evolutionary pressures to be as small and powerful as possible. In stagnant waters, only parasites and disease grow aplenty. The only cure comes from you taking action. There's another link at the bottom, probably leading to a collection dish. Or a state honeypot if you want to be paranoid. They better burn this shit before some neat freak idiot picks it up and gets arrested. Okay, so stagnancy theory is trouble. Someone left a data pad out here. What's in the news today? Lobo threatens Tetra with ransomware vulgarity. The internationally wanted terrorist and serial data thief most commonly known as Lobo. Wolf? Really? Kinda generic in terms of names. Has seized a cache of vital keystone data files belonging to the Tetra Metallics group, according to a press release from the mining conglomerate. In a blitz of cross-posts on 90 different socials, translated into all 11 dominant languages, the supposed hacktivist, radical conservationist, and gentleman thief made clear their intent to ransom said files back to their lawful owners, at severe cost. Though the posts were quickly flagged and questioned due to user reports, Lobo's latest manifesto, of which we have declined to publish here on grounds of journalistic integrity and due to the strong language contained within, has remained in circulation thanks to a loose network of rogue data harbors. In addition to sizable monetary ransom, Lobo put out a list of demands that spanned pages. Most prominent among them was a call for de-escalation of all conflicts surrounding rare earth metal deposits around the equator. Sources at Tetra refused to confirm or deny that Lobo's captured data impacted only their billing services, but insisted that the corporation could not in good faith resume distribution until the ransomware situation was resolved. Market prices for rare earth metals surged following the hacking attack as supply halted and demand rose, stoked by memories of the catastrophic supply chain disruption in the mid-21st century. A spokesperson for Mining is Progress, a lobbying group that represents the rare earth metal industry, called Lobo's repeated attacks acts of terror against the free market. Whoa there, looks like you're not logged in. Want to take care of that real quick? No thank you. Lobo, again, or someone using their name. Suppose it doesn't matter if they're the original or not, so long as they're a genuine threat. And no one could snare a corporation as rich as Tetra without serious skills. It does seem consistent with Lobo's politics, making demands for... Suppose I should... Look at this. Animate 16 is the latest Android produced by Noble Electronics. Read that. Copper, derogatory word for automated dependence. Twisted parties in the automated dependent industries have on one or more occasions lobbied for copper and other terms like it to be classified as hate speech, arguing that anti-mechanical sentiment constitutes an expression of prejudice. Were considered a form of hate speech, incidents of destruction of corporate property where such terms were used would qualify for additional severity and higher fines. Under all but the most radical interpretations of hate speech law, however, prejudice can only be directed towards sentient living things. People, animals, or corporations, of course. If you feel that a corporation you know has been the victim of a hate crime, you can report it at our confidential portal here. Body modifications, aka mods, is a term that may refer to cybernetic prosthetics, artificial implants, neural enhancements, or any combination of the above. While body mods have been seen through history and across a wide range of cultures, the modern body modification movement is differentiated by a shift from intrinsic factors to extrinsic motivators. Historically, mods have been classified based on which section of the user's spinal cord the interfacing occurs at, thoracic, lumbar, or cervical. But this system does not account for mods which interact directly with the human brain. The increased prevalence of so-called above-the-neck modding in recent years has led to several corporations and medical organizations proposing their own new classification system, but so far none have gained much traction. Users also frequently search for, can you return mods, can you undo mod surgery, best reviewed neural implants 2086. Mist, a slang term meaning to shoot or to kill that originates from the bloody spray produced when a modern firearms projectile makes contact with tissues. I figured. I guessed that one. Lobo, the big bad wolf, was here. We tried to process your request, but Lobo beat our ass till we ragdolled. You're welcome for clearing out this cache of soy slop before it could clog your brain's arteries any further. Whatever dumbass dishwater script kitty they yelled at to come fix this, a word of advice from your superior. I own that password suggestion algorithm. Want to re-secure? Try this. Relax your shoulders, stand up from your desk, take a deep breath, and then firebomb your own servers. God damn. Literally cheaper for you at this point. For the rest of you slack-jawed, scream lobotomites looking for a little excitement in their search history, find a pig and rip their throat out. That'll teach you how to run with the wolf. Lobo's king. Lovely. I know automated dependence from last time. Reading this stagnant world, Lobo demands ransom. I take it back. That's pretty Lobo. Yeah, it really is. Something tells me that Oh, Morgan's profile's updated. December 26th, 175 centimeters, blood type AB-, defense attorney, likes, trigonometry, rooftops, bonfires, trigonometry. Dislikes, sunburn, bass, karaoke. Exercises by swimming, hidden talent, baking, body count. You cannot ask someone that. Or you cannot ask someone that. I'm gonna read over the article again to try and identify which one it is. Activist radical conservationist and gentleman thief. In which case, I would guess that he normally requests for de-escalation and not ransom. Yes, there we go. It's not the first time Lobos voiced their displeasure with the decades-old simmer of conflict around the tropics. But unless the rare earth metals powering all our batteries and fueling all our pretty little androids are suddenly made a lot less rare overnight, I doubt the state will stop taking an interest in those regions' politics anytime soon. There's some kind of news program playing on the screen. Most public places are too scared to put on any channel with content more political than the smiling micro-apartment flippers. But this is a gun store after all. Power is always political. Wait, how long has it been? Shouldn't take them that long to get my gun properly bugged. I'm sorry, we've received a breaking news story. We're seeking confirmation, and yes, we have it confirmed. Lead programmer at Noble Electronics and famed designer of the Turing solution, Dr. David Asher, has passed. What? Proprietary Vantage automated dependent management system, along with the Animate series of androids. Must be some kind of corporate propaganda tactic, or... No, they wouldn't risk. Fake news? But why? Perhaps best known for his breakthroughs in the field of machine learning and language. Misinformation, maybe, trying to... authored many of the developments that allowed for Noble's rapid growth and market dominance. David Asher is dead? Including the popular Desk series of smart UIs. That's very sad. I didn't ask. Sorry, I just... Commands only. Understood. Will you be paying with cash or credit? Debit. 9:41 a.m., July 1st, 2086. The 8 is bolded. Not sure if that's relevant. It might just be a stylistic choice, but... The gun was light. Lighter than I expected. A real gun should always be heavy, greater than the sum of its parts. That's one of the things I like about them, their weight. Like they're anchoring the world around them. Like they're a fixed point in time. Like everything else is just relative to them, either closer or further to the end. I would have liked something heavier during that walk back to my apartment. I would have liked something to feel far away from. Morgan's apartment. Didn't realize I was home till my hand was on the door. What is this? What am I doing? What am I doing? Fumbling in my pocket for my lighter. Golden, polished, tastefully ergonomic and fine and expensive. And a good lighter. It was a good gift. I kept the card, didn't I? Here it is. To the only smoker in my life. I know gold's a bit much for your personal style, but they don't make a lot of these anymore. Believe it or not, the only people who share your vice are stuffy old men with bad, expensive taste. Hope you can manage to get some use out of it anyway. Your friend, David. The news might have more information by now. Or not. Looks like the net's full of copy-pasted statements from Noble. Auto-edited montages, ill-fitting quotes. Reactions to the news from every micro-celebrity under the sun. Their raw, authentic emotion brought to you live from all the car seats and bathroom mirrors of the world. But there's nothing about his death. Not even a time window. Did he die this morning? Was he found dead in his bed? Has he been dead for days, while Noble's just been waiting for the right time to let it leak? Or did he die last night, while I was out screwing around? A phone call? Better not be work-related. I'm not in the right mood. Oh, Morgan! Hey, thanks for picking up so fast. She's Jessica Starling, who asked me to call her... Hi, Jess. Listen, I need to... I've already seen the news. What? Oh. Oh, of course you have, duh. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner, with the company and their people and all the... What I mean is, if it were up to me, you would have been the first call I made. For a decision like that to be up to David's assistant, about 1,000 other Noble employees above her on the ladder would have to get axed, but... It's alright, Jess. No one ever really knows what to do with these kinds of things. Still, I'm sorry you had to hear it from a stream Chiron. What difference does it make how the information gets to me? I could have stumbled upon his corpse myself and I would feel mostly the same. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to call anyway. Yeah. If I want more information, she's the best source I'm going to get, maybe for weeks. What to ask at a time like this? I'm supposed to express denial first, but she's probably short on time. And I don't feel like following the playbook to the letter right now. Can you tell me what happened? The police, they think that he took something. Suicide? And the police are already involved. They say it was some kind of poison, or... God. Noble's got a lot of weight to bludgeon the state with. Especially in this city. I would think they'd keep the police at arm's length for at least a few days. Listen, Morgan, I need to ask something of you. Of course, Jess, whatever you need. Whatever you need? A bit much, but she's grieving. This is just how people talk. And it's not like my day was really salvageable anyway. I'd like to bring you up here, to David's place. What do you mean? There's something I have to give you. You're not handling his will already, are you? If the police are involved, it'll be a while before... No, I'm sorry, it's not like that. Before he... No, please don't hold back on my account. David asked me to get this into your hands. It wasn't work-related. But he asked me. I know I'm asking a lot here, but since it's turned out to be the last thing he ever asked me to do, I'd like to get it done. I don't like showing up at crime scenes more often or more quickly than strictly necessary. Poison makes me think Human Target, but that's probably only because I finished reading it recently. I mean, that's fair. It interests me that she jumps to poison, like Morgan doesn't consider that suicide could be an option. Generally, if you're planning to commit suicide, you're not gonna go for a poison. You're going to go for something else that would be easier to get your hands on. Or I would assume, at least. Poison seems like it'd be a relatively difficult thing to get your hands on in this setting. So she jumps to poison because she knows there's no, like, external wound. And that's when I only have to worry about the police. With Noble looming over all this, security will be doubled and scrutiny tripled. This is too risky. There's no logical reason to agree to her request. Swing by my place with a cab, yeah? Besides my own morbid curiosity. Right, of course. Thanks, Morgan. Thank you. Wait, I almost forgot. What is it? Do you happen to have anything black you could wear, do you? (10:11 a.m., July 1st. In transit. The autocab hums a synthesized purr as our on-ramp merges onto a canopy superhighway. Steadily and suddenly all at once. Not much super about it, but it does cast one hell of a shadow. Canopies always felt very arts and crafts to me. Cobbled together, always added onto, never finished, never planned. It's clearly taken a lot of time and effort to make, but the end result's still ugly. And it feels like it could fall apart at any moment. You okay, Morgan? You look a little carsick. I'm fine. Thanks for asking. But if I ignore her text now, she'll just send more later. Hey, Freckles. Saw your friend Asher on the news. Rip. Thank you. For trying to be sincere. Worth a shot, haha. We all have our strengths. God damn, you are one passive-aggressive little girl. Why's all your filial piety go out the window whenever you talk to me? Filial piety doesn't work on you. You love yourself too much to appreciate respect. True, true, went the train. See, Freckles, you can be very insightful. When you aren't too busy side-eyeing the whole world. Wonder where I picked that up from. Oh, Morgan texts like me. Which, I guess, sort of texts like my sister. She, no capitalization, no punctuation, but she capitalizes names, but never the beginning of a sentence. Morgan texts sort of like me, except I use abbreviations most of the time. And I tend to use, like, not like emojis, but like a colon, parenthesis, smiley face or frowny face a lot. Not from me, haha. Pretty sure you were born muttering insults under your breath. The nurse tried to make you cry and you responded by giving them self-esteem issues. Did you ever have dealings with Noble? 10 out of 10, shift in the convo. Subtle as a car crash. subtlety doesn't work on you either. Yeah, Morgan sort of texts like me, although I tend to be a little bit less sarcastic. I text like I'm submitting an assignment. Same! Well, usually I try and, like, lighten it up by using lol or, like, faces, like smiley faces a lot, but I have been told I text like I'm writing an essay. Well, it might if you were good at it. This is me asking you for advice. Okay. I guess this never sunk in. Because you spent most of your apprenticeship asleep. But my clients were all celebs. They're rich and famous. I didn't have that many dealings with the Megs that own their likenesses. Is it really that different? Plenty! Celebs don't like people seeing their dirty side. So they pay smart people like me to clean up their messes. But Megs don't like people seeing them at all. Period. And also, Megs are a lot more lively when it comes to something. Gross. Hard workers with a lot of stress to vent, huh? Stop. Do you have any actual help to offer? Truth be told, I did have this one run-in where I got... I don't know what word that's supposed to be. Like, so far I've been able to guess, but I don't know what that one is, where I got knee-deep into corporate intrigue, I guess? Why? Because I got blank, blank, blanking, blanking up the blank of Analyfe's 45 poster girl. Damn. I'm not sure I want to know what that stands for. God damn it. Hard worker. A lot of stress to vent. Glad to know I can always reach out to you in my time of need. I'm gonna let that slide because I know you're mourning. Look. Corporate types are all a bunch of paranoid drug addicts. Having glue and playing roulette on their phones. While fantasizing about stabbing everyone else in the meeting to death. So I don't expect them to play nice just because Asher was your pal. My actual advice is, get whatever you're owed. Then get out of there fast as fuck, boy. That's a beautiful thought, Auntie. I mean it. Corporations prefer Viking funerals. What's a Viking funeral? They burn the body. A dignified ceremony where the body is sent out to sea on a boat. Then, they set everything on fire and sink the ashes to the bottom of the ocean. Try not to linger, Freckles. You don't want to be stuck on board when they start knocking their arrows. Thanks. I mean, whoever this is, they're not wrong about corporate types, but a lot of like, people who are very dedicated to the corporate grind will not hesitate to throw you under the bus for their own sake. So I guess it makes sense. Thanks, but what the hell was that about me sleeping on the job? I worked harder in one day than any of you Gen Alpha drunks did all week. That implies that Morgan's Gen Z. The full term is sick-ass Viking funeral, which are usually always 6. I love the implication that Morgan's Gen Z. Just especially, like, just the perpetually done with your shit vibe she gives off. I mean, she's definitely got the reckless lack of self-preservation, but... Should've worked smarter. And if you want to go there, you did literally fall asleep on the job. At the Christmas party. What is that? What is that? Why do you have that? Oh my god, she really does text like me. Morgan does. Typos the minute you get caught off guard. Why do you have that? It's not even accurate. Work parties just still work, Freckles. I only had my eyes closed. Because all you old farts had your cameras flash on. Old farts? So Morgan's the generation after Gen Up, but Morgan's Gen Beta? I hate that Gen Beta is a thing. Like, there is a generation that was literally born yesterday. Like, born within the last month or so. That messes with me. Morgan? Something wrong? You're sweating. Just deleting some spam. We got a couple more minutes of crawling through the canopy's guts before we reach David's part of the city. Uptown, our better half. Gleaming opera houses and towering corporate apartments. Boutique shops with more cameras than customers. Penthouses stacked upon penthouses and a frantic climb to the top of the rat pile. All ringed in by restaurants with long wait times and small serving sizes. The joke is that Uptown folks go most of the year without touching street level. Not much of a punchline there. It's basically true. By now, his whole block must be swarmed with cops, themselves surrounded by media and all encircled by onlookers. I could try and enjoy these last few moments of calm. But if the storm's coming either way, I'd rather use this time to try and find my footing. Actually, Jess, if you've got a second, I was curious about you and David's death, the request, that headline. You and David. Remind me, how many years did you and David work together? Oh, well, I started with the company about 4 years ago. They offered me a temp contract when I was graduating. I was put in HR right in the middle of a hiring burst, so I spent 2 months in the Warrens. Then an aptitude test got me fast-tracked to mid-low level management. Sorry. Warrens? They've still got opera in 2086? I thought pop culture would have undergone attention span death by then. I mean, yes, but at the same time, if there's one thing you can count on, it's people being pretentious and, like, upholding whatever they see as a higher art form just because it's old. Like, you've seen the way some people react to modern art. It is not a surprise to me that, like, the rich people have upheld opera as some sort of art form. Sorry, Warrens? Oh, this is what we called the company dorms back then on account of all the... well, all the people. Ah. Plus, it was underground. Ah. Didn't see the sun that first month. My skin got so dry. Is that normal in your industry? Normal for everyone I've ever worked with? Except David, of course, but I mean, he was the best. Yeah. One Tuesday morning, Dr. David Asher walked right up to my desk like I had won the lotto. Said I should come work for him, Dr. David Asher, directly. On a random Tuesday morning like it was nothing. He didn't like to do things on Mondays. Said people were always too tired to get anything done anyway. I wasn't trying to be super cynical, but it would be funny if the shows there were about 4 minutes at max. Honestly fair, and to be entirely honest, the tone of this game strikes me as a little bit cynical in and of itself, so I think a little bit of cynicism in response is not necessarily uncalled for. Yeah, that's right. You did say that. I should know by now, right? 3 years of arranging meetings and keeping him organized, and occasionally straightening his tie. He was a good boss. He was a good guy. Yeah. When did you last speak with him? In person? Thursday. Thursday afternoon. The day before yesterday. He seemed normal. I mean, I didn't... We still don't really know anything, Jess. You're right, thanks. Thursday's the last time I saw him. That was when he asked me to meet with you. David's death, I guess? I'm guessing you've already been to his place? Yeah, it's a real mess over there. It's that bloody? Oh, God, no, not that kind of mess. I mean, with the cops stacked on the media, stacked on the lawyers. Each of them with their own network of drones and all their droning. It's very, it's a very high productivity atmosphere is what I mean. When were you able to get over there? Well, I got a call from legal late last night. They weren't exactly delicate in breaking the news to me. Last night? They said they needed my help sorting through all this. Well, you know how I left things organized sometimes. He's been dead since last night and they've kept it under wraps that long? I know there are a lot of powerful people in his circles, but to stop it from leaking for over 12 hours? That seems like more than just your typical powerful people trying to control the narrative. Seems more like there's something they're actively trying to suppress. So, you found out last night? Right, last night. Oh god, I'm sorry. I should have told you as soon as I found out. Really, it's alright. Did you see anything? No, I still haven't actually seen him at all. He was airlifted to the hospital ASAP, and that's where he passed, so... But, well, I didn't get the impression that the cops had been there that long. Not compared to the lawyers. They and the rest of the company people seemed pretty entrenched. Noble set up camp before police even arrived. So, what time would that have been? I guess I got there around 9 p.m.? Yeah, because at 9:15 they switched my phone to silo mode and I got locked out of everything but my work stuff. Sent my last blah at 9:13, see? Gonna expire whoever put me in heels this morning. It me. They can do that to your phone? Lock you out of social media? Of course not. Well, unless I'm on the clock. Or off the clock, but on company property. Then they can remote all my tech, yeah. How convenient. So if I got in at 9 p.m., I guess the rest of the company people had been there since 8:30 p.m.? I hadn't been there more than a few minutes before the mood changed. Word about the hospital declaring him dead had started to leak. I see. He died after he reached the hospital. That's unexpected. It's 2086. You might be in trouble if you get stuck in bureaucratic purgatory when you need to be in the emergency room, but other than that... If you reach the hospital alive, a good doctor can stabilize almost any patient within a few moments. And Noble's electronics lead programmer would have a very good doctor. So what the hell happened? Is she mistaken? Was he just not officially declared dead until reaching the hospital for some reason? Or... Hard to think about, I know. Yeah. Or hard to believe. The request. Jess, I have to wonder. What kind of request did David make of you that it couldn't wait a few days? Right, of course. He asked me to give you something. Something? Is she trying to build suspense? Right, it's just, well... I don't know exactly what it is. You have no idea. He asked me to give you the contents of his safe. Are we headed to the bank, then? No, see, he has this private safe in his basement. Maybe you've seen it? Well, I say safe, but it might be more accurate to call it a storage locker or a false wall. And all he told you was that he wanted me to have what's inside. Right. He was very clear about that part. Your eyes only, straight into your hands. Handle it in person, he said. Strange. It makes sense if it was poison, considering the opening scene, but didn't the other person say jump him? Maybe? I think that happened at the end of chapter... That happened at the end of 0, didn't it? Something about jumping him? I don't remember them saying it at the very beginning of this one, but at the same time it would make sense. Although, to be entirely fair, if I was a very powerful person and I knew people were going to be out for my head, I would learn how to defend myself. So at the same time, it could have been they brought a team to just overpower him. I'm honestly not... I can't make any conclusions until I'm able to actually examine the scene. But if they think it was suicide, and if they think he did it by taking something, then the most logical, assuming that's not just the line they're feeding to the public, assuming that's actually what happened, then the most logical course of action would be to assume poison. This is all pretty analog for someone as technically gifted as David. Coming from anyone else, I'd call it paranoid. But David was never paranoid. Even when he had every right to be. If he wanted this handled a certain way, it must be for a good reason. That headline. It's not that headline, by the way. The one where your warm android saved that soldier's life. Oh yeah, pretty feel-good, don't you think? So, folks at the company must have been in high spirits lately, I take it. That's what I thought when I first heard about it, but, I don't know. Maybe upper management's never happy? Because they're still just riding sales harder than ever, especially in the traditional consumer markets. I thought they'd start building a pitch for Congress the day the story dropped. Big patriotic campaign telling everyone why we need a contract for warm androids in the military. But I hadn't heard about them moving staff around for anything like that. Maybe it's all above my pay grade. I was also going to say, rich folk are probably decked out to the gills in fancy cybernetics, so poison makes sense, but then I remembered his body still hasn't been shown. Yeah, so... Again, suicide seems like the party line. Like, clearly... Well, while clearly Jess is connected to it, she's not trusted enough for them to have given her all the information. So, we can presume suicide for now, but we can't treat it as the absolute right answer. All the corporate power and money in the world. And they're still such joyless assholes that they won't even celebrate their victories. So, David asked you to do this on Thursday, correct? Yeah, Thursday. And he passed last night, Friday. Yeah. Wait, you don't think that that when we met he had already decided? It's not healthy to speculate on that sort of thing. More importantly, it's not helpful. The dead don't have anything to offer the living. I should know. You're probably right. Besides, we'll need to focus. Judging by the size of the crowd I'm looking at, it looks like we're about to jump into the thick of it. And also, keep in mind, this is a tech billionaire. Assuming that it's not like Elon Musk, a lot of tech people I know... Well, this is a lead programmer tech billionaire. So, maybe he's like a Steve Jobs type figure. But something tells me that he's not the Steve Jobs of the company, he's the technical brains, and there's someone else who's the political, social brains of the company. And a lot of the tech people I know, a lot of the programmers, computer science people, are notoriously skeptical of anything really high-tech. The Wozniak then, yeah. That's not to say Steve Jobs wasn't technically intelligent. I'm just saying that it seems like there's probably 2-3 roles in this company. Like, he's not the... He's clearly very famous, so he may have been the face of the company, but it seems, if he's lead programmer, it seems to me more like he would be the technical genius and not necessarily the social genius. If that makes any sense. But anyways, a lot of the tech people I know are notoriously skeptical of anything high-tech. So I wonder if he's the type to, like, go all in to buy into his own company's hype, or if he's the type to be skeptical. Noble Employee Housing Building. Plate IA? Platia? Platea? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Again, it's hard to determine because we just don't know that much about him at the moment. I can check my phone and see if I have a profile on him. Profiles? Oh, David, yes. Okay. What type? O-, lead programmer at Noble Electronics, likes street food, crowds, fishing, dislikes brain freeze, driving, lint, eyeglasses, custom designed, shampoo, expensive, sense of humor, unique. Okay, so judging entirely by character design and the profile description that we've got, He looks more like a Jobs than a Wozniak. But again, this is going entirely off vibes. There's no concrete knowledge of this. Starling. Jessica Starling. June 24th, 176 centimeters, weight 63 kilograms, executive assistant at Noble Electronics. Likes dancing, buying shoes, reselling shoes. Dislikes hangovers, soft mattresses, machismo. Charm point, her earnest smile. Relaxes by bar hopping in the lower wards. The best at reading the stock market. That's a talent right there, reading the stock market. Because I've literally taken several college level finance courses and I still don't get it. I still do not get the way the stock market works. Masters, Victoria Masters. July 7th. Hi, Mio. How are you? Okay, yes. So, Victoria Masters. Date of birth, July 7th. Height, 166 centimeters. Weight depends on the time of day. Blood type, AB-. Occupation, lawyer to the rich and famous, semi-retired. Likes, handsome men, pretty women, expensive liquor. Dislikes, clingy people, prudish people, flying commercial. Jewelry, 24 karat. That tracks. Age, difficult to verify. That also tracks. Smokes, cigars, Death 13 cigarettes, and quote-unquote other adult stuff. Search terms, Noble. Noble Electronics. Minus 2.58% today. That's actually not that bad of a stock market drop for... What game is this? This is Of the Devil. It is like a cyberpunk... Like, sort of a cyberpunk... I don't really know if it's right to call it neo-noir, but it's very futuristic noir. Lawyer simulator. Noble Electronics, better known as Noble Electronics or simply Noble, is the fastest growing automated dependent corporation on the globe. Noble spent most of the 21st century chasing consumer tech trends like wearable smart UI interfaces, only pivoting to androids during the 2070s amid the decade's economic upheaval. Corporations struggled to break through the highest tiers of corporate power until David Asher revolutionized their products with his Turing solution and the technological breakthroughs that followed. In the years since, Lawyer Simulator, can't even imagine. It's almost like a mix... Oh, don't forget the gambling mechanics. Yeah, there are gambling mechanics, although it's less gambling and more like confidence levels. I mean, there is risk-taking, but it's... To me, it's not so much... I mean, it's framed as gambling. There's a very clear, poker motif. But to me, at least, it comes across in the actual mechanic of it less as gambling and more like, how confident are you in your decisions? You willing to test that? I played the demo last week, and there was a lot of trying to guesstimate, guess/estimate, because sometimes you can figure it out based on concrete evidence, and sometimes it's just vibes. What evidence the other party has and whether or not you can prove them wrong or whether you should hold your cards and wait. So I guess it is sort of a gambling mechanic. It's funny though, I am awful at poker because I can't read people to save my life. They have the sound design for a gambling game down pat at least. Yes, they do. Yeah, anyways, it's funny because I'm usually bad at poker because I can't read people to save my life. I can read the cards. At its base, poker's just estimating your odds, like trying to figure out which cards have been played, which cards each person is most likely to have, that sort of thing. That's all math. That I can do. But the trying to read people, trying to figure out who's bluffing and who's not, when you don't have a whole lot of evidence beyond your estimation of the cards, that's a lot harder. Although in this, I'm not actually struggling too bad with the reading people bit. Anyways, in the years since, Noble has secured approximately a third of the automated dependent industry global market share, with their desk hologram interfaces and animate series of upper middle class luxury androids, in particular helping them grow at a monstrous pace. Noble's recent foray into biomechanical androids was initially met with skepticism when pre-orders lagged behind their previous numbers, but the Animate 16 is projected to reap record profits for Noble over the next 8 quarters. Alright, David Asher was a renowned computer scientist, user experience designer, industry leader, philanthropist, and lead programmer at Noble Electronics. He first received worldwide recognition for his postgraduate thesis on intelligent programmatic linguistic weighting, a body of work which would come to be known as the Turing solution. Huh. So he designed a series of equations that could that could get a robot to pass the Turing test? Cool. I mean, I figure that's what it means when they say Turing solution, but at the same time, that could just be marketing. Though he retained the original patent on the Turing solution for the rest of his life, he was famously unlitigious. By most industry experts' estimates, the Turing solution exists in some form in 92% of active automated dependent source codes. David Asher's philanthropic efforts and invaluable skills placed him at the front and center of Noble Electronics' public image. Many considered him to be the unofficial face of the company, and his private life graced the tabloids and gossip section of the net on many occasions. David Asher passed away on July 7th, 2086. This entry has received an unusually large number of suggested edits in the last 44 minutes. Dissemination of disinformation is a Class 3 misdemeanor. Spreading conspiracy theories about public figures is a violation of our terms of service. Okay, so that's all my information I have right now. Lobby. And I thought there were a lot of police here before. Maybe it's too late to ask, but you're not bad with crowds, are you, Morgan? She's kidding, right? It's downright airy in here compared to what we just waded through. Wide eyes and clenched fists, heads peeking over shoulders and around signs. Police, both mechanical and warm-blooded, closing ranks with holograms and quick-set wires to draw a severe perimeter, while protesters, mourners, fanatics, and busybodies shuffled about at the edges of the police line, the heat of their panicked anxiety washing over. Who the hell were all those people? Well, there have always been people with strong feelings about our products. Androids stepped forward into the mob, gently, firmly, unfeelingly parting the human tide. Most of them with official police branding, but a few remotely deputized consumer models emerged from the crowd to join them. All of them built by Noble. All of them built from David's code. All of them standing vigil outside his tomb. This is all technically company property, isn't it? Yep, David had the penthouse all to himself, but every other floor's tenants are Noble employees, too. Not an uncommon arrangement in Uptown. Work at Noble, rent from Noble. Wave hello to your Noble neighbor in the morning, and be sure to request a spot in line at the official company crematorium. They don't actually do that last part. I think. Does Noble handle employee funerary arrangements? Yeah, it's a pretty standard benefit, actually. It's cheap for them compared to dental. But Noble's always been generous with benefits. Work hard and the company will have you set for life. And after. Both the state and Noble have gotten themselves entrenched here in the lobby. Security and damage control and PR and liability. Everybody just glad to be working. I'm feeling a little overstimulated. Is there any chance we can just skip all these checkpoints? No, absolutely not. So, who do we need permission from? The cops or the company? My request went through, so we should have the go-ahead from both at this point. We won't need to go near the actual, Is it still called a crime scene if it's not technically a crime? I don't want to think about how many suits Noble's paying to debate that question right at this very instant. David's vault is in the penthouse basement, but we can't get to it from these ground floor elevators. We'll have to ride straight up to the rooftop veranda, walk in his front door, and then head down. If Jess says we can do all that without stumbling across where he died, then... Okay, so if we just flash my ID card in any problem that comes up. Including him? Hey, ladies, look, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid we're at capacity at the moment. Let anyone else by and you won't be able to maintain. Huh. You're that lawyer. Morgan. You caught me, detective. How long's it been? Feels like it's been ages. Oh dear. Not so bitter about our last encounter, I hope. I'll live. I don't see the spunky one around. She taking a mental health day to preserve that unflappable charm? Detective Rice is around. Why? You missed her that bad? I've had blind pimples that were more endearing. You two know each other? Just Starling, meet Homicide Detective Kasim London. It's a pleasure, miss. Oh, likewise. As you might have guessed, the detective and I are acquainted. Comes with the line of work. Morgan's being modest, sweetheart. We're practically blood. Oh, wow, me? Sweetheart? Something wrong, Starling? Huh? No, nothing wrong. But close as we are, I still can't just let her walk in off the street and onto the scene of an ongoing investigation. Even Noble's lawyers have got to play by the rules today. Play by the rules? So there is a game afoot. What makes you assume I'm here in a professional capacity? You're a criminal defense attorney and we're at a crime scene. Call it an old man's intuition. Good detectives don't rely on intuition, though, do they? They rely on evidence. Oh, I don't rely on it, don't worry. I just need to lean on it every now and then, when my back acts up. Oh, cool. Guy gets a bit of gray in his hair and thinks it's a free pass to act like a goddamn cowboy. Well, I'm afraid your intuition is off this morning, detective. I'm here on a private matter. The deceased wasn't your client? No, that would have been a conflict of interest. Conflict of... You two knew each other. I see. In that case, allow me to give you my condolences. Thank you. But what I could really use is a bit of your help. You sure rally fast. Jess? Right. We have this clearance here, Detective Sir, from legal, which allows us... That's alright, little lady. I feel like he does... Like, she called him a cowboy, and now he's got a southern accent in my head. I trust you. You can leave the paperwork holstered for now. Little lady? We aren't here for David, really. We won't be setting foot anywhere near your... staging area, Detective. Alright, why not? How generous. I can afford to be generous today, because if I screw up... He gestures to the lobby full of suits and cops. Plenty of folks at hand ready to pick up the slack. Well, if you're that at ease, perhaps I can take this time to ask you a few questions? Hey, you can always ask, Tiger. But I think you understand what I mean when I say whether or not I can answer is... not entirely up to me. The entire the investigation cooperating controversy. You're looking a bit haggard. How long have you been here, anyway? Since this morning. But civilized folks don't call it morning when the streetlights are still on. Even if you got here around 1 or 2 in the morning, that still means homicide wasn't brought in until hours after Noble had the lay of the land. Sounds like you could use a break. I could use a retirement package. Hey, you're a lawyer, right? According to all my business cards. Think I can sue for elder abuse? Not that kind of lawyer, sorry. You would lose, though. I already regret asking. I got a homicide detective losing sleep over this anyway. A man is dead, but he wasn't killed by a fire, a vehicle, organized criminals, or disinformation. As far as we know. So, at the moment, homicide's technically not the worst fit. But we're leading in name only. A high-profile death like this, everyone's got an eye on us. And a hand placed firmly on the back of our neck. I've been checking my phone, but the only thing the news seems to agree on is that David passed away. Sorry, but if you're asking for details... No, thank you. For not letting them make this into a parade. Yet. We do our best to respect the privacy of anyone involved with an ongoing investigation. He declined to say victim. Detective, Dr. Asher was a close friend of mine for many years. Yeah, he trusted Morgan more than anyone. Can you tell me if he killed himself? It looks like that's the case. I see. Thank you for telling me that. Dr. Asher... yeah, you're, well... sorry. Another round of guarded words. David was an important man, and it has only been a few hours. But all this tiptoeing gives me the feeling that whatever happened to David, it wasn't cut and dry. Cooperating. You boys and Noble getting along with each other? Sharing your toys? Some of the younger ones are bristling, but I always play well with others, Counselor. And how well do the Megs play with you? They give you full access to building security? They've given us access, and they say it's full. Some big penumbra system. Top of the line coverage, top to bottom of the building. Size of the data stream's torrential. It'll be a while before we can start making sense of it all. So probably something like poison at least. Or Occam's razor and he did do himself in. Or a mysterious tech thing. See, I think it could very well be Occam's razor. Because now that I'm thinking about the end of Chapter 0 again, or Episode 0 is technically what it's called, is he, assuming that he was the one talking to the android, the one with the green hair, assuming that he was the one talking to the android, then it would make sense that he had to send her to someone he trusts. Before, presumably, killing himself. But in that case, he still did it to stop something else from happening. Whether it be like a theft of knowledge or something else. But either way, there's clearly something more going on here than a clear-cut case of, well, suicide. A more conspiratorial man might think that was intentional. Bury us in data and hope we're too swamped to find anything, whatever they're trying to hide? Maybe. Wait. They gave you full access to the penumbra? But that means every android in the building is feeding you their full spectrum. You know your stuff. The penumbra pulls data from any androids connected to the building net, but that's not much help here, since... Still got my mind on that scene at the start of this chapter with the two mystery people talking. I'm assuming one of the mystery people is David. I would guess the one with the green name. And then whoever it is that had the gray text is, I would guess, a character we've met already. Because so far every character's had a text color, and gray doesn't really count as a color. So my guess it would be it's someone we've already met and they're trying to obscure their identity by hiding their text color. Like with David, they had a color but no name. For whoever the other one was, assuming it was 2 people and not even 3 people. Could be 3 people. That's just wild speculation. That's my brain moving at 1,000 miles per hour and trying to like come up with any possible extrapolations from the data we have. But they had no name and no color as well, which stands out to me. Because presumably, whoever was influential enough to either kill David Asher or make David Asher kill himself is most likely going to be a recurring character. So... you know your stuff. The penumbra pulls data from any android connected to a building's net, but that's not much help since there weren't any androids in the penthouse. Right. You know, I'd heard the rumors. Never put much stock in them, but it's true? Asher really never owned a single android? Okay, so that makes me think that I'm on the right path about him being a tech skeptic as opposed to being a tech enthusiast. Never. Well, I suppose I might do the same if I was the genius who programmed them all. Every time they opened their mouths, I'd just be... His own lip service, refracted 1,000 times over, echoing back at him from behind a mask he carved. So that means all you'll have to investigate with are the penthouse's security cameras.
Yeah, but that should be more than enough to wrap up a case like this. In a good way, I mean. We're very much on top of this, ladies.
Controversy. David was one of the biggest names in tech. He was the face of Noble Electronics.
Uh-huh.
One could argue androids are only as common as they are today because of his contributions to the field.
Some people felt that way, sure.
So, do you think anyone would want to hurt him because of that?
Remind me, which one of us is the detective again?
You really won't let me pick your brain?
You already know the answer.
Yes, ads are controversial, androids especially. We at Noble are aware that our products are sometimes the subject of heated debate, but...
No need to quote the handbook at us, miss.
Truth be told, I've never really understood the hate. It's not that complicated, is it? How many people have lost a job to an ad at least once in their career?
Every last one of them lost their job because their bosses, their flesh and blood bosses, fired them. Nah, ads are just a symptom. Scratch that. Ads are just a product. Getting mad at them is pointless. And vandalizing them is less than pointless, because unlike us, they're all insured.
And besides, android production has surged over the last decade to become one of the nation's biggest exports.
True. Nice to have at least one thing we make in this country.
That's right, Noble only outsources the production of a small handful of internal components. Every other part of their manufacturing process is done proudly right here at home. I somehow doubt everyone considers the specifics of Noble's supply chain to be a point of national pride. But you don't need a political science degree to see how much the state values Noble's contributions to the national economy.
Alright, now listen. I don't mind being helpful, and I am trying to be sensitive here. But we really do have a lot on our hands at the moment. So I'm gonna have to ask you to be discreet, and ideally, fast.
Well, our, business is just in the basement. David's basement.
But the penthouse is on the top floor. The roof. So its basement would be...
Second to last floor, if you want to be technical, detective. The point is... We don't need to go into the kitchen or the parlor. We'll go straight back to his workshop and then head downstairs.
The kitchen and the parlor. I understand. But all the same, I'd like to escort you two ladies there myself.
Wow, an escort, like royalty. Isn't he a gentleman? Huh? I guess he's... Lead the way, detective. True to his word, London ushered us past the chattering suits and humming drones, through the checkpoints and into the elevator. As it climbed into the sky, we got a good look at the growing throng of people gathered outside. And its shifting makeup. Seems it's mostly protesters now. Or worse, brand loyalists. Idiots led around by the nose when their whole life... Ooh, got hiccups. Following the musk of whatever trend is laid out before them each morning. Today's trail having led them here, for half reasons they couldn't put into words, even if their lives depended on it. They're like insects. And they look like them from up here. They're probably already preparing their spin. The misunderstood genius of Dr. David Asher, a video essay in 5 parts. Why the company insisted on cultivating such a following for him, I've never understood. Hi, Roddy. They could have easily pinned his achievements on someone more marketable. Some random photogenic employee, or a fashion model with glasses. David wouldn't have minded. He never wanted the attention, the chaos. Maybe it's as simple as bad luck. He just happened to have the right look for the part. A man buried in his work, with his eyes fixed ahead. 10:32 a.m., July 1st, 2086. Noble Employee Housing Building,
Platea. I think that's how I say it. I don't know. I've also noticing the emphasized letters change. Cause in the one before this it was the I, not the E. Penthouse. This is what? His laboratory?
His shop, he called it.
How down to earth. It's messy in here. David was always disorganized. Why a programmer needed to make such a mess just to run tests on computers, I'll never. But sloppy as he could be, he didn't like it when other people saw it. If he was leaving things like this, he must not have entertained any guests down here in some time. Thanks for all your help, Detective London. Don't mention it. What, you want me to step out?
We won't take long.
Not lacking for boldness, are you? Look, I have to take a phone call.
We'll be in and out as soon as possible. Promise. And whatever Dr. Ash wanted set aside for his foundation,
we'll be sure to flag it. Right. At least she's already wearing gloves.
If we find a dead body, it'll be our first call. Morgan? What was that stuff about his foundation? Dr. Ash's charity has always been managed by an outside group.
You haven't spent a lot of time around crime scenes, have you?
Actually, this is my first...
Well, generally speaking, it's not really common to retrieve things from the premises while the cops are still searching them.
Oh. Oh.
Look, if David had something to give to me, we can go get it. We just can't make a ton of noise about it, understand?
Of course.
Great. After you.
Right. Quiet as a church house.
The phrase is quiet as a church mouse, but... Y'all cannot see me shrug. My model's tracking does not reflect that, so...
Caught myself. I'm okay, I'm okay.
But now doesn't seem like the time to correct her. David's shop was a mess, but the mess felt familiar. It was very David. Coming down here, I barely recognized the place. For starters, there's a goddamn gym. David hated exercise. Always claimed he didn't have the time for it. Even when I got him that treadmill and a subscription for the personal coaching program with the scheduling subroutine, said he couldn't find the time. And then even when I explained to him that the program accounted for all that and adapted to his schedule, he still...
Morgan, what's up?
You're smiling. What's so funny? Nothing. Just surprised to see the place renovated.
Yeah, he actually had me on mail tag with a couple contractors a while back. Never thought I'd have to learn so much about concrete and wiring and marble. Did you know marble needs to be treated or else indoor air will start to corrode it?
I didn't know that. Is that true?
Wait, is it not? But her guy told me that without an epoxy finish, the entire bar table could...
Is that the vault over there, then?
I mean, it's not... It is common to treat marble and other stones with a sealant, not because it'll corrode, but just because it'll get, it'll wear over time. But air itself won't corrode it, it'll just wear with use. But epoxy is not the most common sealant, and definitely not for marble, I don't think. Wonder who uses this stuff then, or maybe it is a human target situation. I guess we'll find out. It's not like they haven't taken inspiration from other pieces of media. Although I doubt they would take an entire plot line from something else. Is that the vault over there, then? Yeah. It stands out, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Nervous?
What's that? Oh, a little, I guess. But the inhaler helps, mostly, so...
Aren't you going to open it?
Open it? Don't you know the combination?
No, I do not know the combination to David's basement vault.
Oh
no, how could I have... He didn't tell you or give you a code, or... He gave me the code to get into the building. And the parking garage. But not the code to whatever this is. Okay. You know, there were a lot of scattered papers back in his shop. Could he have left you a note on one of them? Yes, he could have. He would have. In fact, I think he probably did. You just stay right here, Morgan. I'll have this settled in a sec. Sounds good. Right then. Well, it's definitely locked. Looks like it's a Tethys Basics Certicure Anti-Hack Anti-Digital High-Rated Code panel. Nothing basic about it, but I can at least see the password's limited to 6 characters. Only 1 million possible combinations. I say this having only read 12 issues of Human Target, but a live-in body double would seem to be the sensible thing to have in his position. I mean, I guess, but at the same time it seems... Maybe I'll get lucky, or screw that. Screw that. There's gotta be actually evidence somewhere. Forget it, there's a different terminal over here. Cotter Security Systems, according to the label. Maybe it controls the whole room? Damn. It's password protected too. And the code's 64 digits long. What's the point of a camera system? It's harder to crack than your literal vault, you egg-headed... Okay, yeah, programmer probably would care more about his IoT than whatever he can fit in a safety deposit box. I'm gonna go ahead and figure out what the hell IoT is. Internet of Things. That's what it stands for. Okay. Again, it is odd to me that I mean, I guess in 2086 it's probably not that far off, but it does strike me as odd that a programmer would have an Internet of Things in his house, specifically because every tech person I know, every programmer I know, is very, very Internet of Things skeptic. Tethys is the largest online shopping and consumer shipping corporation on Earth and a dominant economic force that frequently courts controversy by skirting monopoly and labor law in every nation in which it operates. And yes, we really do have everything for sale. So ditch this lame-o search engine and head over to our online store to find what you're really looking for, hot stuff. Not interested in sponsored search results? See further with a premium account. Of course. Meg. Meg is a derogatory and hateful term used to refer to so-called mega corporations or anyone who works for them. Okay. Profiles, London. Cassim, London. Date of birth, May 5th. Height, 186 centimeters. Weight, 78 kilograms. Blood type B+. Occupation, homicide detective. Likes, fall colors, morning air, dimples. Dislikes, touchscreens, cheap earbuds, white rum. Cats or dogs? Both. Good at coming up with nicknames. Bad at remembering birthdays. I like that each character has the bottom 2 lines of their thing separate from everyone else. It gives each of them a little bit more character beyond what we learn from them in their dialogue. Because it's the 6-digit vault or nothing. But I'm a lawyer, not a lockpick. Is it a master lock? Because I don't know how familiar y'all are, but you can open a master lock with another master lock. And whatever other felonies I get up to in my private time, I've never pulled off a bank heist before. Only tool I've got here is my head. So what do I know? I know whatever David put in the safe, he wanted it kept secure. And I also know he wanted me to have it. So maybe he thought ahead. Maybe he guarded it in such a way that I would be the only one who could get into it. I've seen a lockpicking lawyer video or two, mostly as April Fool's stuff. Honestly, it's really interesting. Like, while I don't really have any personal use for the knowledge, I know plenty of things that I don't have any personal use for. But it is really interesting, like the inner mechanics of locks. And honestly, having a little bit more context from watching his videos has helped me solve a puzzle or two, and specifically escape room style games, but puzzle games in general. David liked games, and he really liked beating me. So if he's left one last puzzle for me, I don't mind going another round. Alright, guess time to look around. Gym. Taking a closer look, this is a pretty serious looking set of resistance training equipment. And these weights, they're all set near the max. If Noble hadn't appointed him a nutritionist along with his stylist, David would be downright scrawny. There's no way he was putting up these numbers. In which case, the digits on weights could be a clue. But there's too many and I can't guess the order. So what the hell, Asher? Did you set all the weights to max because it looked more neat? He strikes me as the type of person who wouldn't do that. Like, again, he strikes me as the type of person who likes keeping up appearances, but not enough to actively inconvenience himself. This must be his spare liquor cabinet. Damn, there's a lot of good stuff in here. And a lot of bottom shelf swill. The kind of bargain bin vodka and nose burner whiskey that only an undergrad programmer could love. Nostalgia's sweet like that. Overpowering. 1 part per million can cover up even the cheapest aftertaste. So I can't examine that, but I can examine this. David's wine collection. Still towering over the room. Don't know why he'd buy so many bottles. He didn't even particularly like this stuff. Maybe just to fill out all those shelves. But not all the bottles are untouched. Some of them don't have dust on them at all. There's a mechanism for retrieving bottles off the rack. The latest bottle chosen was Murder Camp 81. Could be significant. Except vintages only list the year they were bottled, not the month or the day. It's not enough digits for the code. Alright, so I've got weights are set to max. Something about an 81. It's a very big painting. And it's, impressionist? Looks more abstract to me. No, cubicle. Cubist, which is still incorrect. Yeah, this is pretty damn far from cubist. Yeah, cubicle. That sounds right. It is not. Whatever its style, I do remember that David liked this painting. If there was a date on it, it could be a 6-digit password, but I don't see that one anywhere. Maybe signing your work was considered gauche among the cubicalists? No. No, it was not. Cubists, well, almost all artists have signed their work, but cubists were actually much more inclined to sign their work than others because there was a chance you would get associated with big names like Picasso. This flooring's a new addition. Looks rough, like sandpaper, but it's bouncy, rubberized. What's, Dadaism? No, so Dadaism is less of a style and more of a message. Like, most historical art styles are closely associated with the political and economic situations of the time. Like, Rococo, for example, is the first one that comes to mind. Is like, there's a visual style associated with it, and there are, like, visual elements and techniques associated with Rococo, but it's also much more known for its depiction of the French nobility in a sort of very light and fluffy style, often with undertones of love, but also often with, like, heavily, like, playfully sexual undertones, which is a really weird way to describe it, but that's the best way I could think of it. It was the French nobility at the peak of French nobility, so right before the French Revolution, really. And most historical art movements have been reactionary. So take for example Impressionism, which was a direct reaction to realism. This idea that maybe everything doesn't have to be in... Well, it was a direct reaction to realism and Rococo. This idea that, one, it doesn't have to be that super detailed style. Impressionism is much more about, well, the impression and the vibes of the painting. But it also often... It also more often than not depicted common people as opposed to nobility. Or Cubism, for example, is also a reaction to realism, but also a reaction to Impressionism. This idea of going for a more abstract vibe, but also going for a vibe and also going for, like, the complete opposite vibe of Impressionism. Dadaism is weird because it's not so much associated with style as it is associated with message. It's almost like a sarcastic art form. Like, it's purposely made to mock whatever the prevailing thing is at the time. Like, Dadaism is very common in pop art. as well. Like, it's sarcastic, it's mocking, it's meant to be like an inversion of whatever the dominant messaging is. So a painting like this certainly wouldn't be Dadaism, because Dadaism more often than not, but almost always has some sort of political or social undertone of political or social commentary, if it's not explicitly political or social commentary. I did not mean to go on a whole rant about art history, sorry. Back when I took advanced history classes for a while in high school, but also some in college. I took, like, history classes for sociology majors because I needed an elective and I had the prerequisites, so I figured why not. And a couple of the classes I took focused really heavily on art history, because especially when it comes to European history, well, art all around the world, but especially when it comes to European history, the clear, like, periods of art very, very heavily reflect the political, social, and economic climate of the times. So often you can look at art and immediately see how it reflects. You can look at European art and well, if you know what to look for, you can almost immediately see, like, what time period it was made in, because it reflects the political and social atmosphere. Anyways, feels like something you drag your feet on at the gym or on a factory floor. It's more high performance than high class. Expensive, but not in the way you'd expect for a penthouse. Well, scratch that, it's actually cracked here. Rubber doesn't break, it bends. That's its thing. So someone must have cheaped out during the installation and left a defect in. That, or David left a jackhammer on overnight. Alright, I've searched the whole room now. Time to make a break. Alright, so I gotta go through my evidence. Big blue painting. Predator is an oil canvas painting. Neo-abstract expressionist. So yeah, abstract expressionist, that's what I thought. I'm studying arts history and I still haven't gone to that for some reason, so thanks, I guess is the right thing to say. I mean, I'm not exactly an art history student, but yeah, it turns out that art history is very, very tied in with history. Arguably his most well-known work, it was displayed in the Krulheim Centre d'Art Moderne for 9 months before Hestop entered the premises on 11/25/58 and used a hunting knife to cut the singular mass of canvas into 3 separate pieces. Is it referencing Who's Afraid of Red, Yellow, and Blue? Huh. It may not. This may be me drawing parallels where there aren't actually any, but Who's Afraid of Red, Yellow, and Blue is a fairly infamous piece of modern art. It was 3 canvases, red, yellow, and blue, just canvases painted a solid color. And it was displayed in a museum of modern art, and for a long time there was a lot of criticism about, this is a solid color canvas, this does not count as art. And then one day, eventually someone took a knife to the canvas. Specifically, I believe it was the yellow canvas, maybe? Or maybe it was the red canvas. Anyways, someone snuck a knife into the museum it was being displayed in and took a knife to the canvas. And as restoration efforts were being made, it was discovered that whatever technique the artist had used to get that particular depth of color couldn't be replicated. So despite, for most of its lifetime, being regarded as not art at all, it's actually an excellent showcase of artistic technique and how it's often not visible to the bare eye. Sounds kind of like This Is Not a Pipe. Sort of. They're in the same vein of being pieces of modern art that a lot of people just don't regard as art at all, even though they're commentary. Well, there is some degree of commentary to all art. All art has some degree of commentary to it. It doesn't have to be political, but art reflects the artist. And it is near impossible to be human and not have opinions. So there's almost always some form of commentary inherent to art. But yeah, both Who's Afraid of Red, Yellow, and Blue and This Is Not a Pipe are both pieces of modern art that are so often regarded as not being art at all, despite clearly being artistic. When asked for comment, Haystorp replied, "My works are not complete until they've been signed." Interesting. Alright, so there's 3 pieces. 11/25/58. That's 6 digits. Do I have to type? 11, 25, 58? The date the painting was signed. A password that is and isn't left in plain sight. Nice one. There we go. Hey Morgan, What? How did you get it to open? What is that? I turn back around, just in time to see a door finish swinging open with mechanical grace, revealing a girl with a barcode emblazoned across her temple. Required by law to be plainly visible. It's an android, clearly marked as such. And yet, even standing this close, I could swear it's snoring? I step forward and place the back of my wrist on the android's brow. Warm. It must be a prototype for the Animate 16. Or maybe a prototype for the 17? Or 18? A biomechanical android with real human flesh. Sorry, biomechanical, yes, but it's organic flesh, not human. They're grown from lax Gemini cultures, but Sorry, I misspoke. Right, understandable, since you seem surprised, Jess. Hasn't Noble been working on warm androids like this one for a few years now? Warm androids like this one? I mean, yes, we have. Sorry, it's just that this particular model is very, it's very cutting edge. Bleeding edge, judging by the flush in those cheeks. I think it's safe to say we found what we're looking for. I think so too. That presents a problem then. Oh, do you not approve? I've got nothing against androids. My concern is a bit more immediate and, well, practical. This is the one from the end of Zero. Yes, and she's been featured in a lot of the marketing for this episode as well, so I'm assuming she's going to be important. Practical. Practical? I don't know how to turn it on. Do you see a switch or something? Do you? Can we, turn it around, or...? I poke the android's ribs. A little less give than I expected, given its frame, but the rigidity's remarkably lifelike. That's a tongue twister. I place my hand on the shoulder and give it a shake. But it doesn't budge. This thing has to weigh more than... Right, androids mostly transport themselves, so people are surprised to find out they're a bit heavier than they look. I have to get my glasses adjusted. They keep slipping down my face. And, I kind of need them to see, so... Bit? I'm surprised the whole room isn't slanted. There's no way in hell we're moving this thing without waking it up. Crap. First of all, now this. I was able to guess the combination just by poking around. Compared to that, finding this hunk of junk's power switch should be child's play. And I think I know where to start. Jess, I'm going to step back into the lab for a moment, alright? Sure, I'll, there's gotta be a manual around here. Good idea. It might be some sort of prototype, but it's still got a barcode. Maybe you can scan its GIN number and find something in the company files? Yes, yeah, of course. All generic ID numbers should be paired with industry-standard files on maintenance, tracking, power requirements. I somehow doubt that the enigmatic android taking a catnap in a sarcophagus in David Asher's basement will have a user manual. But it can't hurt for her to try, and... Oh. I'm okay. Broke a heel, but I'm okay. I carry glue. And I'd rather search the lab by myself. Now then, if I were David and I wanted to make sure that only one person would be able to walk out of here with that android, how would I set that up? Well, I guess I gotta investigate. These appear to be holding tanks for something. How should I know? No labels on anything. Typical for a genius. But a nightmare for anyone trying to pick up after him. It's a lot more hard science than I expected in here. Centrifuges and glass and microscopes. Yeah, for a program where this is all very life science-y. Don't programmers do all their work with a keyboard? Yeah, normally a programmer wouldn't have so much of a lab. It's almost like halfway between an engineer and a biochemist. Okay, let's examine this. Diagrams of human anatomy. The hands are highlighted. The most developed part of the human body. Good for making stone axes and sending emails. Robots and frames can do just fine with claws or three-digit imitations. But androids are expected to look like people and move like them too. Getting the hands right must be a big priority at Noble. That tree-like shape on the right's a neuron. Those branches receive input of varying weight, and then if the sum is greater than a certain threshold, the neuron fires. A 0 becomes a 1, and all the other zeros around it take that into consideration. Repeat that a couple billion times a second, and you've got the human brain. Computer power full enough to simulate all of reality. That's the analogy I read in a magazine anyway. Well, it's not so much that it's simulating reality, because it doesn't have to process the logic of so many things like a game often has to. Like, if a game wants to have something move, it has to process the physics. The brain just has to process that it's moving. It doesn't have to process why unless you actively think about it. Haven't seen one since college, but this must be a 3D printer. That's a giant 3D printer. Of some sort. Feels expensive enough to make other printers look like soda fountains by comparison. Better not mess with any of the settings. Looks like a fairly normal computer. If I'm lucky, the security will be fairly normal as well. Boot up complete. Username? Vocal commands. David Asher. Morgan. Guest? Thank you for logging in as a guest. It didn't recognize my voice. So I can probably rule out a vocal command being the key to waking the android. Do you have a question? More than one. For now, though, what should I search for? Morgan. Search files for Morgan. 23 results on the local drive. I can work with that. Mostly phone book and social data. But I don't recognize this file type. Some sort of personnel format? Date of birth, education, occupation, blood type, height, and weight. Oh, that's my profile layout. Yeah, see, if you look at this, that's my profile format. Alright, buddy. A little invasive, don't you think? DNA and fingerprints. Now, why do you have that, David? My DNA isn't in any database. I've made sure of that. So he couldn't have bought this anywhere. Must have collected it himself from a wine glass or the like. Would have been easy to do. But why do it? Alright, I'm starting to get a pretty clear picture what it'll take to turn on this android. I've got the what for the where and how. I'll just have to manage. It's still just a piece of machinery. If it really won't turn on, I can always start hitting it. Morgan, there you are. I've looked in every registry I could find and every database I could get into, but I don't think this android's in the system. It was a long shot. Don't beat yourself up over it. Yes, but an android without the proper identification is... It's only buying or selling an android without proper identification that's illegal. And it doesn't seem like he ordered this online. I guess you're right, huh? We'll have it registered soon enough anyway. I think I figured out what we need to do here. Oh? If David really wanted me to have this, he would have left some way for me to turn it on. What are you thinking? David had my fingerprints and DNA on file. By requiring both, he could be reasonably sure that no one was powering up this android without my approval. Percussive maintenance. Occasionally referred to as the Fonzie methodology. I mean, you're not wrong. You've done a swab before, haven't you? Every month for the company. Apparently they're building a database on employee epigenetics cross-referenced with... Oh, so you're gonna... My DNA and my fingerprint make the key. Now, where to find the lock? Nose, lips... I guess it'd be the hand?
There was that diagram back in his shop. Was it meant to be a literal handshake verification? Huh. I thought that would work. Me too. Chest, maybe? Maybe somewhere with a lot of surface area. The torso? The chest? I am not doing that. I didn't think it was going to just... The lips are one of the most sensitive parts of the body. Not the worst place to make a scan. Oh, that's still not doing it, huh? Maybe if I... Oh man, you went right in there. Are you touching the tongue? It's blinking at me. Hang on. Her name is Sarah. Morgan. Long beat. Good morning to you, too. Cute. Hello. I've never seen you two before. I guess we should introduce ourselves then. I would... Neo Automod tried to block your message. Would not put my finger inside an android. Honestly, neither would I. I mean, I guess that could be inappropriate in the right context. And it is sort of strange in this context, but who knows? I got nothing. I guess we should introduce ourselves then. Hi. This is Jessica Starling. She works for Dr. Asher. Especially in the mouth, the teeth, a robot's jaw strength, insane. To be entirely fair, Morgan is not exactly sane to begin with. Just shove your hand in the android's mouth. Don't worry, that's where the on button is. The tongue needs to scan your DNA. Just weird. But yeah, anyways, Morgan is not the most sane to begin with, so I don't think it's a primary concern. I'm Morgan, a friend of his. Got all that? I understand. She is Jessica Starling, and you are Morgan, last name unknown? No, Morgan is my last. Father told me about you. Oh, he did? Wait. Father? David. You've had it call you... Why? The hell? This is all bad. Yeah, it just keeps getting worse. I am referring to Dr. David Asher. Are you confused? That's not the word I'd use. I'll throw a bone beyond the grave for the good doctor and just move this along. Did David say that he was giving you to me? Transferring ownership? Ownership? That is correct. And what else did... Mostly correct. Right. And what else did he tell you? Many things. Can you specify? I thought conversation was the first thing David figured out how to program. Did Dr. Asher tell you anything that he wanted you to convey to Morgan? A message you were supposed to pass on. Yes. Jess, I think it's trying to... Oh, okay, sure, I'll give you two. Or well, I'll give you some privacy, Morgan. I've actually gotten about 14 messages in the last 2 minutes, so... I'll just head back up to the lab to take some calls, okay? Thanks, Jess. Yes. Thank you, Jess. You're welcome.
It's probably a Dr. Light and Mega Man kind of father, but why would you put... Yeah. I'm thinking it's more of a, like, you literally created me kind of father. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Maybe it's just that that's where he had the ability to put a scanner, or who knows? I would figure in 2086 they would have managed to downsize fingerprint scanners a little. Just the two of us now. So what do I call you? My name is Sarah. It's nice to meet you, Morgan. Trust me, the pleasure's all mine. So what's the message? Father told me that I would be living with you from now on. And he told me that you would look after me. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Should it? A model this lifelike with warmth and breath and something close to blood in its veins. Just what are you, anyways? You forgot my name already. It's Sarah. What were you built for? You're warm, obviously. You're not one of those physical therapy models, are you? That would be highly illegal. I haven't completed 500 hours of study at a state-approved massage therapy school. I haven't even completed 1 hour. Okay, I'm gonna try and give her a little bit more emotion in her voice, because it is hard to talk like completely flat, straight tone. What purpose did Dr. Asher design you for? I don't know the answer to that question. You don't know why he built you? No? Should I? How can you not? Do you? Would I be asking you if I did? I mean, I meant, do you know why you were created? Why you were born? I was born because my parents wanted kids. I don't know about the rest of y'all. Why? Why me? Why would you? Why are you doing this? You're a freak. A monster. What the hell's wrong with you? Please don't kill me. Please, why? Why? Why was a monster like you even born? Guess I walked into that one. I was starting to wonder if you even had the Turing solution. Father's framework for programming linguistics and artificial systems. Pet project, maybe. Or classic Astro Boy recreation of a person they knew. Maybe he just wanted a kid, but didn't want the trouble of actually making a human one. And the body of work for which he first gained international recognition. Yeah, and international gel. Do you have an answer to my question? An answer as to why you were created? Why you exist? Occam's razor. I'm here because my parents wanted me. I see. Then I will give a similar answer. I was created because Father wanted to make me. Still stuck on the design of the on button in any case. Honestly, so am I a little bit. Can't argue with that logic, can I? Can't argue with that logic. Father did say that you're a lawyer. Yeah, that's me. You're a lawyer, and I defeated you with logic. I kind of adore her already. Like, I mean, she's clearly not designed to be a kid. But, like, something in my brain just triggered, like, sort of precocious kid. Like, triggered the precocious kid must protect instinct. World-class, high-power attorney, the best defense money can buy. So, do you catch criminals? The little eye sparkles. I adore her. That's what cops do. Do you litigate criminals? That's what prosecutors do. Then, do you fight for the underrepresented? Expose injustice? Sue corrupt corporations and officials? I don't think anyone does that anymore. Reeds is highly incorrigible even when she shouldn't be. Exactly! Like, I kind of want to give her a hug and enable her to cause chaos.
Then, what do you do?
I'm a criminal defense attorney.
A defender of the innocent and powerless.
Oh my god, the eye sparkles. Uh-huh.
Do you also?
Now that you know all about me, what can you tell me about yourself?
I've never had to do that before.
First time for everything. How old are you?
I'm not sure I can give a satisfactory answer.
0 for 2 on answering simple questions.
What's the date on your earliest memory? 2 years ago.
And where were you constructed or assembled or whatever? What facility?
I was not constructed in any facility.
I want to give her a high five and come up with an elaborate handshake. Yeah. That sounds about right.
Father created me here. By himself.
You're saying if I took you apart, I wouldn't be able to find any markers from any manufacturers? Any IDs of any designer?
You want to take me apart?
David was a programmer, not an engineer. How could he build a custom android from scratch in the comfort of his own home? He couldn't have. He must have had help. Probably a whole department's worth. If I ask around, there's gotta be someone in the company who can ID this thing. And help me figure out what's so important about it. You don't look like any android I've ever seen. What are you made of?
This body is composed of organic tissues integrated directly into cybernetic systems. They require organic nourishment, including water, carbohydrates, and salt.
Wait, where do androids have to eat and drink? They cannot be worth that much trouble.
My cybernetic systems operate largely as analogs to their equivalents in the human body. I have a respiratory system for oxygen exchange and a centrally located pump that circulates oxygen.
You mean you've got a heart? How quaint. But where does all the extra weight come from?
Pardon?
I tried moving you earlier and I felt like I was pulling against a truck.
My skeleton is a combination of medical-grade plastics and a military-grade titanium carbide alloy.
Okay, but even then titanium is fairly lightweight. That sure took the wind out of her sails.
My muscles are made of adaptive rare earth alloy nanoweave fiber with shock absorption and kinetic chain potential rated past.
Wait, did you say military grade?
I have a grip strength above 1,000 kilograms. I can run at sustained speeds over 60 kilometers per hour. I can jump 6 meters vertically. I can lift approximately...
I'm not sure what kind of grip strength most androids are walking around with, but I've never seen any of them move the way it's talking about. Even just standing there, it seems to be... poised. Controlled. Spring tight. Strength and flexibility, like a ballerina or a gymnast. Strong enough to flip over a tank, lifelike enough to avoid detection. As long as it never stepped on a scale, it'd make for the perfect infiltration unit. The perfect weapon, if you could keep its development a secret. Did David really put that something heavy on my plate? Dismantling a military prototype in secret.
Are you deep in thought?
But a military android would look more crew-cut and forgettable. And would David really devote personal time and effort to make another weapon for the military?
I have other features I could tell you about if you'd like.
If I shot you, would you die?